In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, Munson here with the Expats Portugal show. How are you doing? Show, live stream and podcast. How's it going there? Hope you're doing well. Tudo bem? Do answer in Portuguese if you possibly can. And I have been noticing this. More recently, there has been more Portuguese chat. So keep that up. Excellent stuff. Well done. Glad to see that. And this morning, it's Ask Anything About Portugal. Wednesday, of course, Dougie Hughes will be joining me from Welsh Wales this morning. Funny thing, this morning, Pete is in with a Welsh greeting. I'm not going to read that out until, you know how Pete likes to prank. Pranky Pete likes to prank us. He's had years of experience in the classroom of pranking on the receiving end. And now he's getting his own back like a naughty schoolboy occasionally, getting me to read inappropriate things out on the screen and tripping me up with his interventions. Yes, you must have learned a thing or two at the chalk face there, Pete. So I'll get Dougie to have a look at that, the Welsh greeting. And strangely enough, I'll talk to Dougie about this when we see him at 9. He is, of course, a writer for the Portugal News. So we'll have a look at what's going on over at the Portugal News, and he may well be able to tell us about some of his more recent contributions to that esteemed publication emanating from the Algarve, south of Portugal. But last night, I was out looking for ice creams for the kids. It's a long story, but you know when you make a promise, it's good to deliver, isn't it? Especially when they've been used as a bribe to lure them away from a situation like the beach. Lovely swim in the beach. I'll come back to why we're at the beach. The in-laws are leaving today. That 3 weeks has flown by, quite honestly. Got a lovely picture, a picture of us on the beach last night, and a picture of those two, mum and dad-in-law on the beach from their stay here, which you may have missed when I showed it previously. Beautiful picture of them in the sunset, enjoying the beach. Get a room, you two, honestly. But yeah, in town last night, near chicken shop number 1 in San Martinho de Porto, I was looking for ice creams. I was parking up. I was quite busy in the town still at 9-ish last night. Yes, my children are proper Portuguese. They stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning every day, and eat ice creams until the early hours. And I heard voices that weren't Portuguese. I suppose that they could have been a Gaelic or Celtic, as there's this shared coast, isn't there, an experience. There is a similarity, I think, between the Welsh and the Portuguese. Actually, that's a good thing to ask Dougie about when he joins us a little bit later on. But it became apparent that these voices were not Portuguese. And I looked in the cafe window, and there were the Welsh feathers there, and I think in big letters, Welsh or Wales. And I met Tudor, the proprietor of a new cafe. I think he's an experienced cafe owner, but shout out to you, Tudor. Lovely to meet you and shake your hand last night, and we will be back to say hi. And somewhere you can get Guinness, everybody. That traditional Welsh drink, Guinness, you can now get in San Martinho de Porto, thanks to Welsh Tudor. Lovely there in the village near the market in San Martinho de Porto. So I have to tell Dougie about that when we see him. And yeah, the in-laws are leaving today not on the midnight train to Georgia, but the morning taxi. Cheers, Vitor, our local taxi driver, taking the folks to Lisbon Airport later today. Had a lovely swim in the water. It got a bit overcast, and we set the pram up to take some self-time. What fun it is to take a self-timer photo. And thankfully, in the age of digital, you can do it over and over again. Do you remember when you had to take the photos to the chemist to get them developed? You're a bit choosy about your self-timer photographs. You might have had a long little plunger thing that you could press and take the picture, or some of the more modern cameras had a clockwork thing on them, and you run back, and there's me just perching back down to have my photograph taken from behind, so to speak. The sea's a bit wonky there. I think they are working on leveling that up. Well, one of the great reset phrases, leveling up. They're leveling up the sea at San Martino de Portugal. It was a bit wonky yesterday. Every time you tried to swim in that water yesterday, you kind of rolled down from right to left, as you can see on the screen there. We had a lovely dip yesterday. And earlier in their stay, look at these two lovebirds still at it, so to speak, in their I don't, what do we call it? At their time of life, let's call it that, so as not to get into too much trouble. But having a little cuddle on the beach in the sunshine in San Martino de Porto, isn't that a lovely image that we managed to capture of them? So great to have you here, Dee and Alan, and we were already missing you. Looking forward to you coming back. And we'll see you again later in the year. I think they've had a fine time. They enjoyed visiting us in Korea, which, of course, is host of an event this weekend. They came to see us when we lived in this town. And actually, yeah, I took father-in-law Alan out for some suckling pig, as you'll see top right. Vegans and vegetarians look away now. But I took him to a local bar, ex-petrol station, fuel station, gas station, which is now somewhere where you can get a beer and a leitão sandwich and watch a bit of footy. That was a nice traditional thing to do. Yeah, this was the poster that features King Barreiros. Is he still going? Who was it who said that? Elro, I think. But this weekend, 12th, 13th and 14th of August in the Parque de Merendas of Korea. Oh, that's the railway station end of town. If you do want to explore central Portugal, Aveiro district, you can get there by train. Korea is on the slow line between, I mean, it doubles up as the fast and slow line. The fast train going from probably Coimbra right through to Aveiro on that line, but the local trains stop at every station, and very pretty those stations are too. One of them being Korea, where there's a fantastic wine shop and this little Parque de Merendas picnic area here. And that was the town where I discovered yesterday, 3 years ago, I ended up in the local publication. Which what was it called? Park das Arch. Oh yeah, this park in Korea at the other end of town is an arty park, and we were photographed without our permission, I would add. But who am I to complain about such things? I was photographed with my boy and my dog there, two kids, I think, on that particular trip of us walking through the Park das Arch 3 years ago in Korea. Time flies when you're having fun here in Portugal. So have a great weekend if you're going to Korea. Not Korea, Korea. And we can actually say, when it comes to Portugal, we lived in North Korea and had a fine time there too. Oh, yeah, anyone who remembers the house we lived in there, just seen some beautiful plans for that home. I got in touch with the brothers who own the house that we stayed in there, and they got some beautiful plans, if you remember the house we lived in Korea. Yeah, fantastic to see an old place being updated in the most beautiful of ways. Dougie joining us at 9 then. Who's in already this morning? Is James back? Yes, just in case you didn't know, me, my brother Couteau. It kind of rhymes, doesn't it, you rapper? Bom dia, Gampos. Feliz carta a todos. Como tem passado? I missed being here yesterday. We missed you too. You and Thunderduck. That's a couple of big holes. Who doesn't like? No, there's a couple of big holes to fill, and we're sending best wishes and healing vibes to Thunderduck. And we missed you yesterday for sure. Big slug-shaped hole that was there, apparent when you weren't in the building. Missed being here yesterday, you say. And man, what a great 2 days in Lisboa with some great compass. Sounds like fun right there, does it not? Oh, who was it? João F. Thank you very much. I remember now. I have these sort of notes to self that get lost in the filing system mentally. João F., you sent me a fantastic video, which I'm going to download now because I think Dougie will like to see that. And of course, that wonderful, given that it's Ask Anything About Portugal, lovely bit of language fun with the word percebes. You might have seen it before, but always worth showing again just to help you understand Portuguese. And I emphasize the word understand because that's what it's all about with this particular meme that I will share with you soon. And you might hear a video just downloading very quickly. Dougie likes his motor cars. I know a few of you here are petrol heads. Something to do with the age we were born in, right? And that's that reassuring sound of a V8 and all those sort of Top Gear type themes that men of a certain age seem to enjoy. So I am downloading a video of a hotel. It's not in Portugal, But I can ask the question, if we did have a Portugal hotel of this kind that was themed in a certain way, as you'll discover a little bit later on, what would it be? What would it be in Portugal? Probably be to do with food, wouldn't it? I suspect. Okay, so I'm just uploading that video now, and Joao F's very kind inclusion or thoughts about us. Antonio F, Joao F, thank you so much for your continued service to this community and your thoughtfulness. And you'll see an example of it from Joao F in a little while. Alyssa is here. Thank you for being here, Alyssa, and Aaron Ann as well. Aaron Ann, very good, from Vietnam. Aaron Ann from Vietnam this morning, where I get a chance to act on the Good Morning Portugal, say hello and good morning Vietnam, for real. This morning to Aaron Ann. So we'll come to you in just a moment. Great to see new names in the chat. And I haven't caught up with everybody yet. So let's just see who's here as we await the arrival of our special guest this morning, Dougie Hughes. And I'll star up that comment. Anyone else read and understand Welsh? I wonder. Oh, I don't even know if Doug does, actually. God Squad tip of the day. We'll do that before 9. Thanks very much, Coach Turner, for that. Really appreciate your efforts as well. Antonio Effin, bon dia todos. And positive reinforcement is far more effective than criticism. So true, is it not? And quite a modern sentiment, I think, as well, is it not? Speaking Gaelic or what, Pete? Antonio would like to know. And welcome. Not welcome. Weather reports. We've done that. We're doing the welcome report, and within it, a weather report. Temperature drop, showers, and some thunderstorms. Possibility of hail, Caesar. Mostly in the north and centre countryside. And my goodness, that will be a nice relief for many people. So perhaps we'll do a little bit of weather this morning as well, see what that's looking like for the rest of the week. Now we've reached hump day, Wednesday, and not that that matters for anybody who's retired. You don't know what day it is. And I'll be meeting a few people, of course, at the meetup today, Silver Coast. Well, actually, it's now the San Martino de Porto meetup because of Pam's excellent efforts over there. One of the two. Well, we know there's a Nazare meetup as well. Don't know a lot about that, but there is a Nazare meetup. I think that's on a Saturday night. We have a San Martino every week on a Wednesday, and Alcabasa on a Tuesday as well. You can hop from one to another. If you do have a meetup gathering you'd like to tell us about, do let me know. And bon dia, Carl from Deagle as well this morning, and Gumpers from day 3 of Belfast summer. Reports it's to be extended till Monday the 24th, yesterday. It was reported yesterday that it would be extended till Monday, and Friday looking like 26 degrees. It's hot in Belfast at the moment. And it's Welsh that Pete has written, from the land of my mother. Lovely boy. Bon dia, fabulous. It's not unusual. It is Welsh, says Pete. 2 degrees and feeling pretty warm today. Showers are due on Sunday here, which would be nice. 24 degrees at the moment. And so Pete's putting on a few layers. Is that a brr or a grr? I wonder there. A good shower would be nice, says Antonio F. In the Serra d'Estrella today. Yes, it would indeed. Is that blaze still raging over there? I mean, they've been working on that for a few days, haven't they? And some tragic loss of flora and fauna over that way. Very interesting to hear Nuno's recollections of the Guarda Florestal. I'm not sure. Were you here to hear that, Antonio F, yesterday? The Guarda Florestal sounded like an amazing job to have actual rangers who live in the forest and can keep an eye on all sorts of things that are going on there, not least the fire situation. Apparently, says Pete, Gaelic has far fewer words for sheep. Yes, indeed. Well over 1,000 firefighters on it at the moment. My goodness, that's still raging over there. Shocker. Bon dia from James. Then we've done that one, haven't we? But great to have you back, James. And just in case, with these names that he does, he gets me reading out unnecessary things. I wonder what it's going to be next week. No jokes about leisure centres, please. Yeah, come on. Let's have some politeness for the Dougie who's joining us from Welsh Wales a little bit later on. Bit of banter there, bit of British banter. A Mark Twain quote of the day then from... no, I won't attempt a Mark Twain accent. My works are like water. The works of great masters are like wine, but everyone drinks water. For some reason, I resonated with this. Yes, very good. Mark Twain in self-depreciation mode there, or self-deprecatory. Doing himself down anyway. Oh, yesterday when Nuno was here, we talked about dangerous dogs. I said I would find a link to it. If you do this search, which is basically dangerous and dogs as search terms in the forum, you'll come up with lots of articles that include some references to dangerous dogs as they're classified, the ones that are classified as dangerous dogs in Portugal, and a bit of other mutt and pooch based reportage over there on the forum. So there you go. That's the link that I mentioned yesterday, or the research. Really, not. I wasn't mentioning that link in specifically to encapsulate all things to do with dangerous dogs, but it's a good start, I have to say. This orange that appeared yesterday, I didn't give you my review, did I, of how tasty the orange juice was? Freshly pressed from Algarve oranges. Now, there was a fellow with a truck who turned up on a street corner near us. He's gone again. He must be driving all over the country. He says these are from the Algarve. No reason to disbelieve him. And isn't it funny the joy you can have looking into the end of an orange like that? It's coming at you. Just wait until this is in 3D. That'll have you reeling back in your seat. That well, anyway, oranges from the Algarve, a box for €10. Orange juice coming out of our ears at the moment. Absolutely delicious. Sorry, Mrs. M, I didn't get to thank you and say how delicious that was yesterday. Ubi's in. Bon dia todos from the Ubi. How you doing? Do you like me calling you Ubi? I wonder. And is that right to continue in that way? Just in case, Sluggy, I was so exhausted. I just woke up 5 minutes ago. That's late for me. It is, isn't it? Or late fro me. You've been partying in the capital then. Any pictures? No swimming today for Deagle. Youth clubs have children going into the gym and will listen on my swimming headphones via the phone. So not swimming today. The kids are on holiday and in the swimming pool by the sound of it. Wildfires are raging. More palpable smoke in the air this morning. Alarm blared for several minutes last evening. My goodness. Doesn't sound like it's getting any better there. I think perhaps we'll check in at fogosh.pt to help you figure out what's going on there. And also keep you up to date with, not from a doom signaling. I've noticed this. There's a definite doom signaling vibe in the mainstream media, isn't there? There's going to be this, there's going to be that, or there's going to be the lack of this, that, and the other as we go into a winter and a recession and so on. Now, I'm very happy to, well, not very happy. I'm not going to avoid it, but I don't want to join in with the alarmism or the alarmist nature of a lot of this reporting that's going on, of water being turned off, of energy blackouts and that sort of thing. Obviously, there are facts. If that's happening, I will report it. And of course, in various ways, we will report on solutions as well. We're solution focused here rather than just straight up alarmist. I think we have a duty here to keep you up to date with what's going on. So that's why I talk about the wildfires and what to do about it, and what you can do and how you can stay safe and be prepared. And the same thing will happen should there be any drought measures and other things. It's what, it's how we came about. We were informing people what was going on early doors in the pandemic. That's how the Good Morning Portugal show came about, as a live stream and as a daily effort. So we'll continue to do the same, to report on life in Portugal and how to create a life in Portugal. Those coming, those already here, keeping you up to date with what's going on, what might be called the good and the bad and the ugly, and reporting it in as factual way as possible, resisting the urge to slip into politics, not always possible, and solutions. What can we do about it all? Quick cough, hold on. And I think I need a sip of water as well. Bear with a minute. I know. Here's the professional way to do this. Let's have a God Squad tip of the day. 10 minutes until Dougie's here, chatting about the Portuguese news. He is a writer for the Portugal News, of course. Chat about his articles if he's got any fresh ones. And we'll also see what you have to say about observations about life in Portugal or any questions. However long you've lived here, I suspect there are always questions. And for the newbies, we'll get to you in just a moment. If you've got any questions about Portugal, anything at all, this wonderful community, this wonderful hive mind here will help you. If you're looking for a lost chord, it's probably there in the middle. Just a nice chop, isn't there, during that little vingle there. God Squad tip of the day then from Coach Turner. There's some controversy. Yes, I heard that. there is some controversy around coaching in the news. In my opinion, those that resort to bullying their athletes are not good coaches. Well, absolutely well said, Coach Turner. If you're looking for a trainer, find one that supports positive reinforcement. Is far more effective, not infective. Well, it's probably infectious too, isn't it? Positive reinforcement is far more effective than criticism. How awful that some people who are in charge of young people and children and training them resort to hideous treatment. I hope they are punished for this, quite frankly, for this, and shown the error of their ways and given help, of course, as well. So that they don't do anything as hideous ever again, hopefully. And I think a ban from the sport in which they're involved or the institution in which they're involved seems entirely appropriate until they've well, probably forever. It's important, isn't it, people that demonstrate some. What's it? Well, I can't remember what the word is. What's one of the purposes of prison that we seem to have forgotten, and punishment is that people not repatriate. Not repatriation, is it? Oh, it's so much out of our thought processes. The idea that reform, is it reform? I don't know. But people, see the error of their ways and change their ways. We must be able to encourage ourselves and each other to do that, right? Punishment and having things brought to your attention, of course, is important. But getting back on the straight and narrow is also important, isn't it? I don't know. Does anyone still care about that? I don't really know. I'm sure you'll tell me, though. Laura is here. Laura Colville. Bon dia, fantastic news. And you've come to tell us about that, Laura. Isn't that wonderful? Fantastic news yesterday. Oh, yes. D7 been approved. Off to the consulate in London next week to get my passport stamped. Could not have done it without this community. And, of course, hey, marvellous. Fantastic. Thank you very much for letting us know. Darren Live. Is that the Darren we know or a different Darren? Darren Live. Morning. And I thought that was a vomit emoji there. What was it I said? But no, it's a beautiful forest with the sun rising behind it. Thank you very much. It does look a bit like the vomoji, doesn't it? Sorry to mistake it for that, Darren, and I take that as in the spirit in which I'm sure it is intended. So what's getting hairy? Hoping to enjoy the area the rest of the week, but things getting a bit hairy. Where exactly are you, Ubi? Heartbreaking for all those affected. Absolutely right. And you've experienced a certain smokiness in the air and some ashfall where you are. So could we have a location such that we can warn others not to go there, really? The signal you heard last night you thought was an evacuation signal, but was likely all hands on deck. I think you're right there. To Bomberos and reserves as well. So that's really awful, isn't it, what's happening there? We will have a look. What's this? No silence as a lamb with fava beans and a nice Chianti. And I see Pete is going there. He's going. I have to be careful which comments I read out now. Bon dia, Stephen. How are you doing? Can you keep an eye on Pete for me? You man cavers, I know, stick together. Thanks, Stephen. Be the Lineker to his Gascoigne, if you don't mind, this morning. So yeah, I hope it doesn't get too hairy for you, Ubi. Aranan. Good morning to you. Greetings from Vietnam. How wonderful. Good morning, Vietnam. So thankful for your rich insights on Portugal. It's a pleasure, Aaron. Stick around for more of those this morning. Pip's here too. Bon dia. All Gumpers just joined and lurking whilst working. That's a good phrase, isn't it? There's a lot of that, I think, goes on here. Lurking whilst working. Also busy planning a trip over in September. Yes, Pippa, we might get to meet you then. Fantastic. And a parabéns to Laura as well for your successful D7 there. Marvelous. It's because the Earth is not flat. Why is that? Oh, I see. It's why. Okay, yeah, okay. There's all the evidence you might need, you flat earthers. Oh, dare we go there and open that can of worms? But look, the Earth is not flat, and there's the evidence. It's the great big spirit level photo proof yesterday. Taken in San Martino de Porto. That's an excellent contribution to science then and physics from our family to yours. Brilliant. And here's another spirit level. Yeah, that's leaning slightly to the right as well. But is that because it's in a different hemisphere? Thank you for you and your spirit level, Moaz, this morning. I wonder if he's still celebrating. And a dad joke warning needs to be issued now. I've been holding this for a long time. Anticipating dad jokes, and of course, T-Duck off duty with those at the moment and on a healing journey. But I think it's only right for the one I'm about to show you that I play the warning for this. Okay, so You have been warned, or you will be now.
Warning. Warning.
Oh yes, oh yes. We have a dad joke meme for you this morning. I will read it out, of course. Why did the Invisible Man turn down the job offer? Why did the Invisible Man turn down the job offer? Let me I can reveal this, can't I, by taking Darren's comment out of the way. He couldn't see himself doing it. Thank you very much. I'm here all week. Try the veal. No, don't try the veal. But well, mate, try the veal if you want. I hope Tudor plays lots of Ed Sheeran and Ed Sheeran, I suppose, and Lady Barbar. This is a Welsh bar that I need to talk to Dougie about. That is a little bit of a cheeky joke there, Pete. He's slipping him in this morning. And Brian's in as well. How's the ankle? Brian, and hi everyone from Gemini too. Good morning at work. Not so busy. What are you up to there, Gemini? Give us a little insight into what you're up to this morning, if you don't mind. Oh, I can take that off the screen now, can't I? Before it does any more damage. Hi everyone. Yeah, so good morning to you as well, Gemini. What sort of work are you doing, if you don't mind me prying? Those of you newbies, or those of you gumpers that we don't know, the lurkers and workers. If we don't know much about you, go on, tell us a little bit more about yourselves. Connie's in as well. Hank's snoozing. Connie's here. Good morning, Gumpers. How you doing, Connie? Great to have you here. Kotu. Is that right? Kotu. And Sarah Yerman is in as well with a bon dia. And I'm still reading out his name. James, stop it. Can you do something, please? I've got a request for you. Can you do something just simple? Maybe like James next week. Bon dia from Alyssa Pamol as well. How are you, Alyssa? Great to have you here. What a feeling. Getting that D7 is believing. So, yes, to Lara from Connie, people can relate to your joy with your D7 news there. Good morning from Paul as well. Paul's in from Miranda de Corvo. Walking my dogs in the woods. Lovely day. I think the cycling tour has been through Miranda, has it not? In this last, or it's coming through this morning. Paul, watch out for that. And thank you. I am glad that you've helped me. Kaish, what a terrible and elementary spelling mistake I made there. Cuidado, Kaish. They're dangerous dogs. That's not quite right, is it? What would be the phrase for dangerous dogs, if you don't mind, Antonio F? And here's some Portuguese. Repeat after me, everyone. Dog is cow. Of course it is. Dog's cães. Okay. Dog is cão. 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 I think I've got a good pronunciation on that now, but, pride comes before a fall always, especially with Portuguese pronunciation. And in the plural, dogs, cães. Cães there. Thank you very much, Antonio F, for that. That will be of use, not just to me, but others as well. I missed being here too, and had a wonderful 2 days. Fantastic news. Saw a bit of Top Gear yesterday, says Ubi, and forgot how great it is. Yes, indeed. In this episode of Top Gear, the hamster and Captain Slow. Bon dia todos from the OLP as well. Good morning to you, OLP. Jim White's in as well. Good morning, Jim. And Ms. Catnipper, who popped in late on yesterday, is in early this morning. Emily, the woman who spays and neuters. Is that you then? Nips Cats, aka Ms. Catnipper. Do you do dog castrations as well? Saying hello from a college town in Northern California at 12:30. So, yes, just after midnight. After midnight, you're going to let it all hang out, but not if you're a male dog. Oh, no, I think you only do cats, I think. So, Emily, the woman who spays and neuters, the catnipper over there, not the seller of catnip. The great pleasure for cats, of course. Well, thank you for telling us more about yourself. Carl, do we still have Portugal history person on Good Morning Portugal? No, the prof doesn't join us anymore. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's something to do with politics, I think. We did see things a little bit different. I miss him. I miss that. I miss this jingle. I can play it now, but I can't give you any Portuguese history. Somebody else might like to. I think that's appropriate, isn't it? I'm not sure that the prof is coming back, but it was great while it lasted. Oh no, I think I've deleted the the intro as well. Not in any sort of angry way. Yes, I think if anyone wants to do, there is a situation vacant for a Portuguese history person, a new prof. He's irreplaceable, but if in some way somebody wants to offer to give us a bit of Portuguese history, that would be gratefully received. Nuno. Officially from Nuno yesterday, his name is pronounced Nuno. And yes, I realized that, but somebody was telling me the name Nunu is also breast milk or the act of taking breast milk. I don't know. I think I'm not good. I think I'm going to stop talking about that now. And welcome to the screen on that note, which might make him chuckle and giggle a little bit. And there wasn't the segue I had in mind, Doug, but welcome to the screen from Welsh Wales this morning. It's Dougie, everybody. How are you, Doug?
I thought they would be nom nom rather than Nunu, don't you?
What you do in your private life is your business, Doug. But yes, great to see you this morning from the kitchen, not from a Spanish bar, not from a French hotel, but from the kitchen in Wales.
From the kitchen today, and an increasingly warm one at that.
Tell us about that. So, what's it like in the United Kingdom at the moment?
Getting increasingly warm, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you view it.
Yes.
It's we're told it's going to head into the mid-30s in the next few days, and not too surprising. It's been knocking on sort of 27, 28 over the past a few days, getting progressively warmer as the days go on, of course.
Okay. Oh my goodness! And how are you preparing yourself? That shirt will be coming off, won't it, soon, to reveal some United Kingdom underpants or speedos?
I think I'll spare the world the view of my pink flesh.
Barbecue supplies in?
Not yet. I don't like eating. I don't like eating al fresco. One has to share one's dinner with sort of mosquitoes and blue bottles, and all manner of from the insectum in phylum, and I don't fancy them on my sausages.
Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. You're very picky about what goes on your sausage, aren't you?
Quite right.
I've heard. Okay. So live from Wales this morning. Last night, Doug, I was walking through San Martino de Porto on a mission to find ice creams late at night, and I heard Welsh voices. And we have a Welsh cafe bar that's just opened.
A Welsh one.
Yeah, the host is Tudor. Well, Tudor, I think, is a great name. Is that a traditional Welsh name, Tudor?
It's either Tudor or sometimes pronounced Tidir.
Tidir. Okay, he might like that if I say Tidir. Yeah, hola, bon dia, Tidir.
No, you say Semi Tidir.
Semi Tidir.
Semi Tidir.
I'll have to.
What do you want to say to him? He'll be most impressed, I'm sure.
All right, we'll try that. And he's selling traditional Welsh Guinness as well.
Welsh Guinness? Oh, the one they import from Ireland. I know the one.
I don't know, but that is one of the cafe's USPs. He was telling me is that they've got Guinness in there, of course, Irish Guinness. So I'm looking forward to popping back there. But yes, the Welsh plumes in the window, and very proudly a Welsh bar here in San Martino de Porto.
Fancy that! I'm going to have to come and pay Tidder a visit by the sound.
You and me can go and see Tidder. Anyone else who wants to do that sometime, give me a shout as well. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? Yeah. Welsh bars, though, we're used to Irish bars, aren't we? Are Welsh bars a thing?
Not really. I seldom see any anywhere except here in Wales, and we do everything we possibly can to sort of escape them here in Wales and go to Irish ones or ones that are intrinsically less dull, to be honest.
That's what I was going to ask you. Dour can be a word sometimes applied to Welsh life, can't it?
Yeah,
I mean that in a bad way. You know, like it's kind of serious. There is an adaptation to the weather. And to what you might call oppression as well, that brings out a certain characteristic among people. So the idea of a Welsh bar could be sort of wooden seats like church pews.
There's an Englishman in the corner there, send him out.
and drinking in moderation. No big booze ups or anything like that. Moderation.
Especially on a Sunday.
The
Sabbath na vedim gro.
You're very good at this. Yeah. Oh, and I nearly forgot. We have a Welsh greeting this morning. You are here, of course, because you're a Lusophile, a lover of, a great traveler of Europe. We'll talk about your recent European excursion. But you love to come here to Portugal, and of course, you write for the Portugal News. Is it okay to read that out loud, or is Pranky Pete winding us up here? Can you see that?
Sut mae'r trafferthion defaid yn ymdopi'r gres, Doug? That means how does the sheep's bothers coping with the heat?
Let's treat that with the contempt it deserves. I thought it might be a little bit of a wind up there.
Well, if they're being sheared, they'll be perfectly all right, just like the ones in the Lake District or Cornwall, I imagine. But if they're going around with a big, heavy woolen coat, I think they'll be suffering slightly. Like
you see, the joke might backfire on Pete. He lives in the Serra da Estrela, and it may be no coincidence that he's moved to the sheep capital of Portugal himself, right?
No,
yeah, Pete.
There's a place called Castro Verde. I think it's in the southern part of the Alentejo, just on the border with the Algarve. And there's a traffic island there, and I thought I was at home because they've got Milton Keynes style concrete sheep residing. They have indeed. Residing on the traffic island. And I thought
that. Would love a picture of that. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I thought I'd arrived home. I think I have one somewhere. If I can find it, I'll zip it over to you.
How super. Okay, good morning, everybody, from João F. And this is what João sent in. He loves this, and so much so that he shared it with us. Hoje temos percebes. Percebes is understands, isn't it? As well as, I think it's the goose barnacle as well. So there you go. One of those fantastic translations. Because on the third, hoje temos percebes, on the third week of their holiday, my father-in-law is on the beach and he's having a look at his mobile phone. I tell you what, these oldies are like teenagers. They're never off their phones, you know.
I know. I've noticed. I'm one of them myself. I get told off relentlessly by the missus. Well, do you really have to sort of go browsing whilst you're talking? And of course I do. You know, I'm bored of them.
Well, and then you reach out and just stroke her face as though you're scrolling it.
Yes,
don't do that at home, anyone. But yeah, the oldies are like on their phones all the time. And father-in-law found this translation part of his camera. So it's a bit like Google Translate and the camera version of it. And he thought it might have been useful for the menus in Portugal, but it's not, is it? I mean, with things like plumas, feathers, and stuff like that. Yes, I'll have a portion of feathers, please.
Oh, yeah.
The translations. Yes, the feathers and chips, please. The usual. They don't like this. It doesn't always. It's not always going to help to have the word literally translated like that. I'll have a bowl of understanding, please. Actually,
is that a glass of Welsh Guinness I can see in the background there, or
no, Portuguese. It's Portuguese stout. I think that's.
It looks Welsh to me. Yeah.
All dark. No, what are those hats called? It looks like it could have a Welsh hat atop it. There, doesn't it?
Could, yeah. But what was it? That woman, what's she called? She's the journalist. Our street porter. She's had a word or two to say about where. She said, "Oh, them Welsh people are like the Welsh weather. They're grey and horrible."
Really?
Oh yeah, and apparently she's of Welsh heritage herself. I think she did have family.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably all got a little bit of Welshiness somewhere along the line when you have one of those DNA tests. And I think we do have to maybe balance things up a little bit and say some beautiful things about Wales. And there are many beautiful things to note about Wales. And
I don't take offence to them.
No, I know you don't.
Quite amusing, to be honest.
Yeah, because you live in a beautiful country, right? And in many ways, you get the last laugh. I think. I suspect rural splendor, castles, hilly valleys, men singing beautifully.
Shall I start? Shall I give you my version of Man of Harlech?
Do you want to?
No.
You saved? No. Okay. If you would like that, please pop the indication as to whether you would like to hear.
Have to learn it first. I don't even know the words.
I imagine you are a rich, fruity baritone, though, aren't you?
Could be.
Okay. Who doesn't like a rich, fruity baritone in the morning? All right. Let's say a few more hellos. I've got a video to show you as well, which is those of you who have signaled that you like Top Gear will like this as well. And we're looking for the Portuguese equivalent of this because I think this thing that João F sent to us is based in Germany. We'll come back to that. How do sheep cope in the heat? Well, it's counterintuitive because I think a woolly coat sometimes traps the air in a way that is helpful. They do say don't shave your dog. No euphemism there. I think I have heard this. Do not shave your woolly dog.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
I had this impression that dog was cachorro or something in Portuguese.
Hot dog.
Cow.
Cachorro is hot dog.
Is it?
Yes. What have you
I'd be
got
saying,
yourself?
"Oh, what a lovely cachorro you've got then."
Well, you want to be careful saying that, Doug, I think, around the place. So let's see
Yes.
what Joao F and Antonio F make of that. If Doug, when he's next in Wales, if he does go around telling people what a lovely little cachorro they have, is he likely to get a punch on the nose with that, or a nice warm welcome and a friend for life? I suppose it depends where he says it, doesn't it? A great question for Doug. Ours all hang out under trees. Oh, well, they're not letting it lie, are they? I will swim for you this morning. Hope the bin lids have a great day. Oh, that's to Deagle as well. In this season, they have already been shorn, so they cope with the heat well. Okay, so shearing is the way forward to keep the sheep cool in intense Portuguese heat. I thought that he was going to say my transplantation was right. My translation was right. Not done Gaelic in 30 years, but got that from you, Pete, this morning. James, still trying to get to Portugal, says the OLP. Well, you know where we are. We'd be happy to help you. Estrela Guardunia for Pete. Are you near us? We're trying to find out where Ubi is with the smell of smoke in the air and the ash fall there. Oh, look at this. And with this D7 news for Lara Colville, joy. It was relief and joy when the D7 notification came through. Tears were shed. How lovely is that? Yes, it can get like that, can't it? Joao F, it's saying to you, Lara, it's the first time I see your name here. Let me therefore welcome you by starting to congratulate you for your D7. There you go. A Portuguese host welcoming you. Still in Gouvier today. So Gouvier is where Ubi is, where that smoke is in the air, and we will take a look at Fogos.pt. Pam's in too. Bon dia. Bon dia Moaz as well, who's in too, I believe. Control the man cavers. They come here to blow off steam before Friday. Yes, I fear that as well. Another question for you then, Doug. With more Welsh people arriving in Portugal, is that a thing? Is rugby going to become the Portuguese national sport? Now, the Portuguese are pretty good at rugby and do love the rugby, don't they? You're a rugby fan, and can you answer that for the coach, Turner?
I don't see it happening anytime soon. Do you? Rugby taking off in Portugal. Then we'd have we'd have to turn the competition that exists in early spring. What is it? When
eight nations instead of seven or
it would
five.
Have to be the 8 nations. Yeah, it's been the 5 nations. Only been 6 nations, and yeah, we'd have to include the Portuguese. But they'd need a damn good team first of all, wouldn't they? I mean, we could always
they've got a tidy team.
Get rid of the Welsh because they're hopeless at the moment. So,
okay, so there's your answer. Yeah. And have you discerned more Welsh people arriving in Portugal? Is there a Welsh influx? Just because
there's seldom a time I come over and don't hear somebody speaking Welsh somewhere, but that applies to France and Spain and God knows where else. Because unfortunately we have a habit of jumping on a plane from time to time. But we're the only people left in the world, who still point at planes in Wales. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Excellent. And you mentioned France. You've been in France. What was your recent French trip like? For those of the people who in our community who are loving Portugal because it's a great base for exploring the rest of Europe. How was France recently, Doug?
Well, it was a sort of rescue mission because my daughter was stuck over there for want of a better description because of all the flight disruptions and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And of course, she was trapped there during the intense heat. So it was a case of getting them back home, basically.
Oh, incredible. Okay. So did you have a chance to enjoy French culture?
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. A wonderful place. Yeah. Yeah. The food really is up my street. Yeah.
I don't know if you've got your tongue in your cheek or not there. But anyway, okay, all right. Yeah. No way, says Antonio F. to you, Coach Turner, about your Welsh rugby question. Your Portuguese rugby question. But they can improve our national team. I think the Portuguese, like with all sport, I think Portuguese do love the rugby. And they have been, I've heard them being judged as good, or maybe it's improving. Maybe that is the word.
It would be nice to see them as part of the 9 or 10 nations, whatever it's going to end up becoming, wouldn't it? It'd be it'd be an extension of of that annual sort of festival of rugby, wouldn't it?
It'd be great. It'd be great. And
Yeah.
so I think it's heading in the right direction anyway. I did answer to your question there. Good morning from Lisbon Airport. Picking somebody up, I think, or dropping somebody off. That's often the way, isn't it, when us lot are at the airport?
Mm.
And lurking whilst working as well. That's a hashtag, isn't it? That could be trending on Twitter this morning. Lurking whilst working. Running an NGO in Africa, providing services for working animals and owners in the rural communities. I had a friend in Exeter who used to work for the Sidmouth Donkey Sanctuary. I think it's Sidmouth, and used to
Yes,
travel
there
all
is
over.
one there. Yes.
Yeah, she would travel all over the world, helping people who have working animals, donkeys, obviously. In her case, sounds like you do something similar, Pippa. I'll have to. What's this? I'll have to catch up later. Work calls. See you, Gumpers. No lurking there. Then straight on it. Carl, I'm having so much fun watching you navigate my various names. Well, I'm not, James, quite frankly. And your national team is, yeah, see, there you go, Antonio. Your national team is doing pretty well. Shout out to the Portuguese rugby team this morning. Hola from Hollywood. Look at this. The adventure filmmaker is among us, Doug. So yes, if you're here, adventure filmmaker, because you're looking to sign up the rights for our erotic novel that we've been writing together, or you want to make the video of Schengen style featuring Gilles de Pereira from Carl at expatsportugal.com, please, for that. Get those questions in then. Anything for Doug, who's a Luciphile, talking to us from Wales this morning from the kitchen table, I believe,
Yes.
and a prolific writer for the Portugal News. What have you had in there recently, or what are some of your favourites from the past, Doug, that you might like to talk about?
Well, I think the last one I had in was about the droughts, wasn't it? I did want to. I don't know whether you can pull them up or something. Yeah, there was one there called Drought. The Truth Is Out There, which is I think the last one that I've had published in the printed version. And there was one after that that appeared online only, and it was about the hustings between the Liz Truss and Sunak, of course.
Least said about that, the better, in my view.
Yes, I mean, yes. Yeah, there was one about drought. I don't know where you can. It'll be under in the opinion section, I think.
Well, tell us what you were saying about that, because some of the news yesterday in the Minho region of Portugal is that the water will be turned off at times strategically. What was the tone of your article about the drought situation in Portugal then?
It was about the generality of the Iberian Peninsula drought situation,
Okay.
and the actual root cause of it being the more prolific presence of what they call the Azores high pressure system, which blocks weather systems from approaching and making landfall in Portugal and Spain, instead diverting the weather systems northward towards the United Kingdom and Ireland, as well as Scandinavia, which have a habit then, of course, of suffering from excessive rainfall. So as climate change worsens and progresses, this Azores high pressure system grows, becomes stronger, and unfortunately, the people suffering the most from this will be Iberia, especially the interior, which is going to get less and less rainfall, and it's already actually spreading into. Although it could be a one-off, who knows? In France, we had problems, of course, in '76, which are probably not a lot to do with climate change back then, but who knows what it is now. I mean, we've had a spate, haven't we, in the UK, of terrible summers, wet summers, windy summers, cold summers, and we were overdue a good one. But it's only good if you're out there enjoying it on the beach. If you're a farmer and a grower, it isn't so good.
No, indeed. And was there any light at the end of that tunnel? Was it in any way solution focused, or were you just signalling the coming challenges there?
Well, the solution is something. If anybody had the solution, they'd do rather well, wouldn't they? Because
Absolutely.
The solution seems in the dim and distant future. Because no matter what we do, apparently, even if we bring about net zero, some scientists think it's all too little, too late, and the temperature is going gradually increase. I
Yeah.
don't know if you live in the UK, that's optimistic, but if you live in a more arid part of the world, it's certainly
Yeah.
not optimistic, is it?
Well, yes, the interior of Portugal, for example, yeah, and the south.
Mm.
Yeah, and James Lovelock, I think, passed away, didn't he, in the last month or so? The Gaia hypothesist, who was talking a lot about this in these recent decades. He made a good age as well, and I think
Mm.
worthy of some respect with his views of the Earth as a living organism. I think which changed the game for some people. And to me, with this thing with water control, and I don't know, and I'm in danger of going into a sort of political discussion here, which I hesitate to do, but sometimes it's inevitable. The big problem seems to me, Doug, is that we have centralized control of resources, which on the one hand is logistically unsound, unsafe, to put the control of these things at the highest level, not least because they're slow to respond, but actually proving themselves to be quite incompetent as well. And localized water management seems to be the way forward to me. You know, people saving, preserving, and using water locally on a community level might be quite a good way of doing it, rather than waiting for the governments to do anything about it.
Yeah, I agree with that actually, because centralizing is you distance yourself from the problem, don't you? By centralizing, yeah. The problem is there, and it's someone else's problem. But you can put on your suit and tie and look important, think you can solve it, but in fact, you're too far removed to know what the hell you're talking about in many ways when you have
And
a centralized system. Yeah.
And you see people as numbers, don't you? As we saw with the pandemic, and as we're
Yes.
seeing now, I think with water management or even wildfire control, it's hard to relate to people you don't know. I don't think it's impossible. Some people are more compassionate than others and have a greater
Mm.
capacity for this gift, this human gift. But I think once you distance yourself, and then if some money gets involved as well, we are seeing the sort of scene situations that we are experiencing right now. I would say, and I know some of these things require a centralized governmental solution. But I think we've probably gone too far,
Yeah.
balance-wise, in that direction with the privatization.
Now, our friends of the left would find my comment now quite, I think,
Hold on. All right.
agreeable,
Okay.
because
Oh, agreeable. Okay, sorry. I don't need the trigger alert then. I don't need to press the trigger.
no, you don't.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I don't think that things like water and energy should ever have been taken out of even transport, trains and buses and all that
Yes.
sort of thing, should have been taken out of public ownership. It should always have been there for non-profit and for the benefit of the whole of society, not for shareholders and fat cats.
Yes.
And I think now we're beginning well into reaping the if you can call them the rewards, but certainly the implications of privatizing these key facilities.
Yes, indeed. And the phrase "trickle down" comes to mind, which is painful to say when it comes to water, because I think where you are in the United Kingdom, there is no public ownership and not even national ownership. Even the private companies that own the water don't have a UK interest specifically. They're foreign companies, aren't they?
Welsh Water, I'm not sure who owns it, but it is supposedly for non-profit.
Oh, was that right? Okay, good.
I
Glad to hear
believe
that.
so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they say that's what it says on my bills anyway. But it seems to be there's some profit there somewhere. Although otherwise they wouldn't be able to reinvest into infrastructure, would they? So
No.
there needs to be a degree of profit.
All right.
Although I don't think they pass it to shareholders as such.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. A step in the right direction, possibly. Not so much politics as reality of the elites enshrining their wealth, power, and control of governments. Actually, since forever, there's a pattern here, but maybe it's just more obvious now as people begin to squeak because they're being squeezed so hard. The UK is one of the only countries in the world that do not own their water companies. Yeah, that's what I thought. Absolutely mental privatization. I think we get you just there.
Yeah,
They're about
I
to
agree
bring
completely.
in hosepipe bans in Berkshire, which for our American friends, that's pronounced Berkshire, strangely enough, and a good place to have a dog. So not sure where your rain is going. Well, there's the thing. That's what I mean about local control. And if you had a reservoir or you stored water locally and you were able to use it locally and there wasn't some sort of law against it, which I think there is in certain parts of America, you wouldn't have this strange situation like you have in Wales, where some of your reservoirs have been created to pipe water to Liverpool and Manchester in England.
It wasn't seen, you see, by the government in the UK government as that, because
Yes.
Wales wasn't alone in having villages and communities flooded out to create dams. It happened in Yorkshire, happened in the Lake District, and happened in many other parts of the UK as well. But the Welsh, certain corners of the Welsh psyche community, see themselves as being not part of the United Kingdom. We're Wales. It's our water. It's for Wales. And how dare you flood our village in order to feed water for the greater good? Or the fact that it went to an English city was a massive anathema to them. But I didn't think. But I don't think Wales, and I don't think Scotland. I do think United Kingdom, I'm afraid.
Well, if you do, I guess it
Which
makes
probably
sense.
makes me very unpopular among some people in
Yeah,
Wales.
keep your voice down. Right, so and I think that same thing has happened in Portugal, of course, the phenomenon you described, flooded villages. I think we had some photographs of a flooded village
Yes,
in Portugal,
yeah.
didn't we?
It's for the
Where
greater good of the general community. I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be a few people who are being sort of rehomed from those villages who are going to be mightily cheesed off.
Yes.
Whereas without them, there wouldn't be any Baragems. And
Well, true. We should also say to people, if you are being offered a nice, slightly damp cottage at the moment in a Portuguese valley, just check that it isn't a dried out reservoir at the moment. It might not be quite the bargain you think it is. Oh, Lee, OLP's asking, are you picking up people who want to meet your new beautiful bundle of joy, little Eve? I think that's probably the case. I suspect there. So all of you in the Casa McGrady have a great time with that. So yeah, interesting then, Doug. Drought. Talking about the drought, very topical over there in the Portugal news. Let's have a look at their front page now and see what's happening. As you might expect, reporting about the wildfire situation, a Ryanair strike that could affect Portugal flights. Jump in anytime you might like.
One reason I've decided to sort of put my next trip to Portugal until around the end of October, November, is because I fear the consequences of trying to get there any earlier. I mean,
Really?
well, there's talk of these strikes. Already flights are being cancelled, and traveling by air is becoming increasingly complicated and inefficient as we speak. So the idea of being trapped in a boiling hot airport is not very appealing, frankly.
Okay, so you're going to let this first sort of in earnest, the first post-pandemic tourist season pass and settle itself with all the implications that we're hearing about, not least the challenges to air travel. Come and go, and you'll probably come later on in the year.
Yeah, it's usually, by then it's usually quite a lot cooler as well, so I find that agreeable.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Philomena's here, who told me about the cycling tour passing through Miranda de Corvo this morning, and it was on Alta P1 on the telly as well. Hola, bon dia, alegria. And Patrick Pereira also here. I want to take I think we've missed a little bit there, a bit of context missing on your input there. Patrick, we'll come back to you. The Praia Fluvial Loriga felt like Eden, albeit a bit too Swiss. Cool water, no bugs, no sand spurs, no snakes, just a small horde of French rowdies.
I've seen a few of them.
It's August in Portugal. There will always be they're Portuguese people, I think, coming back for the annual pilgrimage and return to Portugal. But French rowdies. I think you are talking about French people there, and that's not a particular kind of creature, maybe, or plant. Maybe I've misunderstood that. Look, so there is talk about your cachorro question. So you can ask questions of Dougie this morning, but Doug also asked a question about his cachorro. I am planning. Oh, this was Patrick. I'm planning to come to Portugal via Switzerland by tourist visa to get D7 visa. Okay, join us on Monday. Have a chat with us on Monday about your any visa inquiries, questions that you've got there. But what's this cachorro talk in answer to your question? Oh, cachorro is dog in Brazilian Portuguese. So
I've been studying the wrong Portuguese then.
You certainly have, and I suspect you'll remedy that immediately. Go on. It's a bit confusing to call a dog a cow, but there you go. That's how it is. And yes, says Patrick, I will apply from my country, but I'll get ready documents by coming to Portugal. Yes, that's making sense now. That strategy there. Portuguese also use cachorro, but not so much as Brazilians. And remember, we say cachorro quente for hot dog. So quente, a useful word at the moment for hot, and hot dog, cachorro quente there. Thank you very much. Morno is warm, I believe. When you're asking for one of those nice chocolate milk drinks in a bottle, you can have it morno, warmed up, which is a very nice little thing that we discovered here in Portugal. It's even used for soy dogs as well. What's that? The vegan? I don't think you're going to be eating a vegan hot dog, are you, Doug?
Actually, I don't mind vegan patties and things like that. They're actually quite tasty. I mean, I've never tried a vegan hot dog, although I have to admit, yeah.
What? Okay. Well, to be fair, there's obviously not obviously, but occasionally not much meat in a hot dog anyway. So maybe there's no. Maybe you're better off with a vegan one. Okay. Well, morning to you, Philomena. Great to have you here, and we'll see you on Friday. Looking forward to that and the continued analysis of Portuguese festas. Picking up Man Cave Kent in actual fact, coming in from New York. Fantastic. Another person joining us from our community. That's wonderful. And cachorro is a puppy, more specifically there. So, yeah, be careful how you do use that word, I think. Would be out and about in Portugal there, Kent. Why am I calling you Kent? Kent's coming in. This is Doug I'm speaking to, Carl, right now on the Good Morning Portugal show. Where is Rebel Mama as well? Asked Moaz. I haven't seen her for a while. I think, again, Rebel Mama and the Prof not too keen about how I handled politics here on the show. Might be mistaken, but you feel free to reach out, and I would like to extend my welcome to them. Always welcome here. What is the nationality of your caretaker? I'm planning to do the same, and my caregiver is from the Philippines. Okay, so Moaz and Patrick having a nice chat there. Let's continue to look at the front page of the Portugal News, where Dougie is an occasional contributor and prolific at times, I have to say. There's a demonstration at the Algarve Water Park. I'm not sure what that is about. We might look at this story in greater depth because not necessarily the golden visa angle, but a golden visa investor has taken CEF to court and won. Is this the beginning of similar actions where folks are taking CEF to court in order to get some movement there? And what might that mean for CEF? And might that help them to maybe get a little bit more active and proactive? Please.
That's that marvelous wooden construction in the centre of Seville, I believe. If you go down a little bit.
This thing here, yeah. Okay, this is drastic energy saving measures. So Spain are at it then.
The talk is that you're not allowed to drop your temperature on your air conditioning below 28 degrees. So they're trying to alleviate their reliance on Russian gas. So they've made it so commercial properties, especially and hotels, 28 is the lowest they can put their aircon. You can put it whatever you like in your own domestic setting, but they do ask that you also follow, if possible, if you can live with it at that kind of level.
Doug, some might say, what is the point of having air conditioning if it only goes down to 27 degrees?
Yeah, I know. That's too damned hot, isn't it? I wouldn't bother putting it on. I just don't put a window, I think.
Maybe that's what's behind this.
Yeah,
so
that's the idea.
That's interesting. That's interesting then. So this we've dug into that, given, pardon the pun, but given your revelation that you're reporting there. So the Energy Savings and Management Shock Plan in Spain states that spaces with air conditioning can only have a minimum temperature of 27 degrees, and that heating in winter cannot rise above 19 degrees.
There you go.
That is drastic, isn't it?
I didn't write this article, by the way.
No. Yeah, okay, let's make that. That's a little bit of a pass it on there from TPN and Lusa, reported in the Portugal News, not by Doug. All spaces with direct entry from the street have until September the 30th to install a system of doors that remain closed when no one is entering or leaving. In addition, they have until September the 2nd. Isn't it interesting how when governments want people to act, it's as fast as this. And then when people want governments to act, it takes a little bit longer often, doesn't it?
Quite. I think I
Okay,
completely.
it-
I don't know how anybody could have disagreed with your politics, Carl, because they're just fact based, aren't they? You know.
well, not always, but in this instance, I think that's a fairly fair observation.
I
In
think so.
addition, they have until September the 2nd to post information about the interior temperatures and measures taken to save energy. These energy-saving measures, which will be enforced until November 2023, wow, cover
Yeah.
official and public administration buildings. Well, they're leading by example in their own offices, by the sound of it. Commercial spaces, hotels and restaurants, cultural spaces such as cinemas, theatres, museums, or auditoriums, trains, buses, and airports. The decree published by the Spanish government provides for exceptions for the air conditioning and heating of such spaces as kitchens of restaurants. Well, yes, gyms, hairdressers, hospitals, nursing homes, or laboratories. Wow. Public lighting will remain unchanged, but the lighting of shop windows and public buildings that are not used will have to be turned off. This is a lot, isn't it? And I can't help but suspect that the World Economic Forum.
I read somewhere that even Portugal is thinking of turning off, and Portugal are really good at it. When they've got a beautiful monument or an old castle to illuminated floodlights and all the rest of it. But I do believe that they're going to limit how much they're going to use that in the coming months for the same reason.
Well, this is news to me. Thank you for bringing my attention to this. And I think sometimes, is this right, Joao F, Antonio F? Sometimes Portugal might look to Spain, who are, I think, can be a little bit heavy-handed sometimes with their administration. Sometimes Portugal might look to Spain introducing things and say, well, let's just see how that goes down with their public before we do anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's right?
I think that it's I've seen it happen in Ireland where certain things are tested out there before they're and Scotland before they're rolled out to the rest of the UK. Well, I know Ireland isn't the UK, but before they're rolled out to the rest of this region of the world, if you put it that.
Interesting. Yes, the smoking ban was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Wales was one of the very first.
Was it? Okay. Yes, it was. Well, so just see how that goes in Spain then. So keeping an eye on that. Very interesting. Okay, so cachorro is in Brazil. A filhote is a puppy. Cow is a dog in Portugal. Cachorro is a puppy in Portugal. Oops, no problem. Thank you for clearing that up. Amelie's with us from Korea, late to the party. Korea with a K, not Korea that I was mentioning about before. Curia in Portugal. And Ubi likes the sound of this. Seth spanked in court. Wow, awesome. I don't have enough of a war chest for such things. Now, you probably have to be a golden visa type person. But I'd agree their inaction seems criminal. So we'll have a look at that in just a moment. I think we've lost Joao F. Might have had to go off and do some work. It happens, doesn't it? And Philomena, shush, says Pete. They look brilliant. And judging by our awesome weekend festa, I'm sure Miranda's best band is up there. So, yes, Pete, it's not the best rock band in Portugal on TV this morning. It's our local band. They are very funny and worth watching on RTP after 10 o'clock. So you can switch that on. Watch RTP1 maybe after the show this morning. Honeymoon always are in. I like the idea of saving energy, but it seems a bit much and could lower tourism revenue. Well, yes, absolutely right. Honeymoon always. When are you coming on the show to talk to us? If it's 40 degrees outside, 27 is usually quite refreshing.
That's a fair point, actually.
Fair point. And Oshai de Gatos. What's the translation on that? I know that's funny. Can you give us the actual translation of that, Philomena, if you will? And Carl, my politics are very similar to the Prof and Rebel Mama, but I still come to the show and consider you my friend. Well, yes, heaven's sakes. Isn't that a mark of a good friendship where you can have different political views and remain friends? I sincerely hope that is the case. All right, so let's have a look at Seth's spanking now. And who doesn't like a little bit of Seth spanking first thing in the morning? We're going to look at Dougie shaking his head there. Thank you for being with us, by the way. Lucifer, Doug Hughes, writer for the Portugal News. And this article, the English...
That rhymes, actually. Doug Hughes, writer for the Portugal News. I like that.
There you go.
That's my jingle.
There's your jingle right there. Okay. Doug Hughes, writer for the Portugal News. Let's share this. Another story from the Portugal News. Excellent coverage. Portugal News doing a great job there. Who is that? The editor and founder there? Is his name Paul? It's Paul, isn't it? Who's done an amazing job with that paper there. English Golden Visa investor beats Seth in court. Let's take a look at this then this morning. Not many questions for you, Doug, this morning. I think we need to write that.
I don't know anything. They've worked it out.
Or do you think you've been rinsed dry of all your knowledge?
I'm just a blank.
A husk. Empty.
A mere remnant.
Not true. Let's see what comes up now with that invitation to ask Doug anything about. I was going to say about Wales. You can ask about Wales if you want, but specifically about Portugal, of course. Saia de Gatas is the name of our local band, and it means crawling on your fours because you've drunk too much. There you go. Saia de Gatas. It can happen to anybody, especially here with the price of Sagres and Superboc. So English Golden Visa investor beats Seth in court. How did they do this, you ask? Well, let's find out. According to a report by Idealista, between January and mid-June, this is the backstory, foreign investors were prevented from submitting their applications for golden visas due to the unavailability of the online platform. Now, the platform is back up and running, but the waiting time for appointments, a necessary step to obtain the visa, has skyrocketed, having more than doubled since the COVID-19 pandemic. Currently, an investor can wait up to 18 months for a meeting with the CEF. On your travels in the Algarve, where you could be likely to meet a golden visa type person, Doug, do you bump into them, or are they just after the passport and you just don't meet them in Portugal?
No, I know one or two who've done it.
Right. But any first person testimony from them?
No, not that. I tend not to sort of quiz them too much about it, to be honest. It's a personal thing in many ways, isn't it? And so, yes. Although they'll be happy to tell me that that's what they've done quite often,
yes.
In order to secure a place in Portugal without having too many of the restrictions that might affect others. There we are.
Until now, of course, in this situation. So, and you're looking at probably spending $500,000 in the more popular parts of the Algarve to get your golden visa. In this case,
not too difficult, is it? I mean, there's very little in some parts of the Algarve for anything less than that, Yeah,
T1. You get yourself a T1 and a golden visa, $500,000. It was December 2021. An English citizen, a client of Bettino Zanini, decided to invest $350,000. That's the lower level in other parts of Portugal, in a real estate investment fund in Portugal for the purpose of a residence permit. And he was prepared to wait 8 months until he had his residence permit issued and move to Portugal with his family, said the lawyer in statements to Idealista News. With this change in mind, the foreign citizen planned to leave his country of residence to come and live in Portugal, which included renting a house, enrolling his daughter in school, and leaving the country where he lived. That's a big change for anybody. Yeah. Investors choose to invest substantial capital, and with that, they expect to be treated with seriousness and predictability, said Bettino Zanini. It's sounding quite legal. I can hear this being said in court, can't you? With the investment made, the investor applied online at the CEF ARI portal at the end of 2021 to obtain residency in the country, and it was from then on deadlines begin to slip. The waiting time for the entire procedure, which was already long, increased. After 5 months, the investor was still waiting for the approval of the first stage, and that was when he decided to proceed with proceedings against CEF. Case was filed in court April 11th, 2022, and in July, the lawyer received the judge's final decision that CEF would have to analyze and decide on the golden visa application, and if the application met all the required criteria, then CEF would have to make an appointment available for the investor and his family within 10 days. I bet that was an acrimonious meeting, so that they could deliver all the required documentation and collect the biometric data. The client was very satisfied with the decision rendered by the Administrative Court of Lisbon, the lawyer told Idealista and the news source there. That's very interesting. It can be done. I wonder how much that costs, though, to do that for your mere mortals, for your regular folks. But interesting that CEF have been taken on in that way. And Ubi, I think, are very happy to see that spanking, as he called it there. I'm going to play a little video now, Doug, unless you've got anything to say on that particular issue.
No, I haven't actually. I've read the article. I can understand the frustrations of the people involved, and that's it. That's all I can. I've not had to experience anything like myself, so I hope this precedent makes life a little easier for others in future, I guess.
Indeed. Well, exactly. The word you use is right there, isn't it? A precedent for others to do the same. Very helpful, very useful, and thank you to that person for shaking the tree in that way on behalf of all of us attempting to navigate with CEF at times. So you like cars, you write about cars in the Portugal news from time to time. Check this out, Doug. You might like this.
This hotel is a car lover's dream.
Well, thank you to you, Supercar Blondie, and the V8 Hotel. I was sent that as one of those kind of viral videos from Joe F. What do you think of that, Doug?
Absolutely brilliant. Isn't that just the most superb place? And I do watch Supercar Blondie. She has a lot of very interesting stuff she puts out there. But that's awesome. I think that's just great.
Problem is, it's Germany. Okay, so fair play to the Germans there, and for featuring cars other than German cars. I think we saw a Morris Minor in there, didn't we? But we're looking
million.
A Moggy Million. We're looking for the Portuguese equivalent of that. Now, already I'm thinking sleeping inside a great big wine barrel could be pretty good, couldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe a life-size Papa Secco, sleeping inside Portuguese bread, and you can just have a bite out of it.
I've got one for you that we could possibly work on, and this could be feasible. What we need to do is a waterbed made in the shape of the most enormous pastel de nata.
Yes! And you could just dip your finger in it.
Yeah! Can you imagine the comfort?
Yeah, the sleeping in a great big pastel de nata.
Yeah. As long as nobody comes along in the middle of the night with cinnamon.
Not a fan, Doug?
No.
Okay. Nasty habit, says Doug.
Absolutely, yes. Ruin's a completely delicious thing, and they put cinnamon on it.
Okay.
If you put cinnamon on your pastiche, you're a wrong one.
You've been told all of Portugal. Well, it's not just the pastiche, is it? I think Portuguese people like to put cinnamon on everything, don't they? Seriously, yeah. Okay, maybe João F and Antonio F can comment on that. All right, so we'll come back to your suggestions there. Love that, and we want the Portuguese equivalent. I think Doug might book a trip to Germany now based on that. Pete, excellent comment, very funny. No argument there about the best name then. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Thank you, Ubi. I think Carl is great at moderating, and politics is generally best avoided. I've seen chat arguments become arguing with idiots. Then you lose track of who the idiot is. Steady on, calling each other idiots. That doesn't help either, does it? What is the possibility of bringing over 18 daughters? Got 18 daughters? Oh, you've been busy to Portugal for a daughter over 18, I think this is. Well, I think it's best to speak to the experts. Monday is our day for that. Or just reach straight out to look. Chris B is saying it. Hey, it's the Fonz. Chris B is here. So yeah, talk to EI for the specifics on that. Or come back and chat more generally on Monday, Patrick. I'm not trying to put you off or fob you off. It's just that speak to the people who really know and join us every Monday for Migration Monday. She's got a degree, you say. Well, that's great news, and I'm sure that will help in some way. But yes, speak to. Hey, good morning to you, Chris B. Arrived a bit late. You did. My only fight with my ex was over politics. He was a conservative Republican, and I'm a lefty Democrat. And one day the discussion turned into a yelling match. What a shame. What a shame. The next day, we agreed not to talk about politics. Hola, bon dia from Chris. Faja Dodia is Why Can't We Be Lovers by Lamont Dozier. This one cuts deep as he died yesterday. Yes, indeed. R.I.P. Lamont Dozier, Motown legend, a legend among legends, says Chris. He wrote for the Motown, the Supremes, Phil Collins, and more. Lamont Dozier, amazing. Yes. Holland, Dozier Holland, you'll see credited on a lot of Motown tunes there, of course. And this is Pete's comment about that museum. What is the electric equivalent of a petrol head? Electric head doesn't sound quite so cool.
Spark head.
Sparkhead. So is that what the electrics are called? Okay.
No, I've just made it up.
Well, we'll stick with that.
Oh, I'm a proper sparkhead. I am. You know.
Sparkhead Pete says that's the future of internal combustion engine cars, furniture, and museums. Ouch.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's gonna, especially with the way things are going with energy now. I find that unbelievable, to be perfectly honest. That anybody's going to ditch their internal combustion engines anytime soon.
So in the last 8 minutes of the show, the controversy of the spark heads versus the petrol heads. Let's see how that goes. I love cars, but I'm not sure I love them that much. Okay, Chris B talking about that German hotel, the V8 hotel. I did think you might bang your feet or your head, possibly, when you're trying to get some kip in that hotel. But if you love cars that much, it's probably a price worth paying. My brother loves old cars, cool hotel, and he'd love this one. I know a few couples, says Sarah, in politically mixed marriages, I just look in wonder. They've got something to teach us, I think, haven't they? The politically mixed marriage, I suspect. And that said, I'll gladly read any and all politicians and governments for the trash they probably are.
Oh, God.
Ubi, harsh. But there may be a little bit of truth in that. I wonder what it costs to sleep in an old V8. How much would you pay for that experience then, Doug?
I don't know. I mean, the beds didn't look that comfortable, did they? Can you imagine waking up in the morning and your feet are on an ice cold bonnet?
Yeah, or wrapped around a Mercedes logo, at the end of the bed there. So I'm not sure. But I suspect they are charging a premium for that experience.
I guess it looked to me like there was a bit of a museum going on there as well, didn't it? So I imagine you've got free access to that as well.
It's a big experience. Yeah, I think it's an all-encompassing experience there at that particular hotel. Call them spark plugs. Yeah, that's a good name for them, isn't it? The electric people, because they're always plugging their way of life and their vision of the future, aren't they?
Well, we were travelling up. We'd been to France, and this encapsulated the argument to me rather well. And we pulled in. I think it was on the M40 into a garage. I'll not make too long a story of this. And everybody, normal combustion engine cars were just filling up as normal, of course, gritting their teeth as they did so because of the high cost of the fuel. But all the Tesla people, there was about, I don't know, for argument's sake, 10 bays, all of which were filled, and they were like this.
Yes.
Waiting for the cars to charge, with a further 20 or 30 cars like this, waiting to be charged.
Really?
They didn't even any, and most of them, it was beyond range anxiety. They hadn't got a bean left in the battery, so there was no option of going to another garage 20 miles up the road. It wouldn't have got there, and if they did, it would probably be the same situation. The
range anxiety, yes,
there is such a thing, yes.
And we're talking about centralization again, aren't we?
Yes.
I think it should come to the Tesla owners to organize their own network of charging stations, and maybe that's what they will.
Well, they do. The Teslas have their own, and then you've got the mere mortals who have got other charging stations which are generally broken, and don't work. You might have 5 of them, but only 3 of them work. It's
That's no good, is it? If you've driven on your last few kilometers or miles of electric power to find it broken, my goodness.
I saw what happens. I mean, there was a lady there. She plugged in. She must have been knackered, having travelled with range anxiety for a very long time. And she plugged the car in, went for a cup of coffee, came in, jumped into a car, and drove off with the car still attached.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, there are safety systems apparently on board some cars now that won't allow that to happen. But in her case, it didn't. And her car and the bloody pump or the plug-in thing was knackered. It was bad luck.
Okay, well, all right. Spark plugs. What's your solution to that? I don't think we're going to see Pete staying in that German hotel anytime soon, because his car might not be very popular parked up in the car park of that place either. Looks like Cindy B. Oh no, Chris B. Looks like rooms start around $100. Oh, you've been looking it up. Maybe that'll be interesting after. Well, that's not too bad, is it? Okay. Pete says Portugal has lots of great vintage and antique cars, and most of them can be seen driving around the roads here. That's true, isn't it? People look after their cars. They don't have the salt on them that rots them away. I bet you see cars from time to time on the road, so you think, oh, that's amazing. I haven't seen one of those for 30 years.
True, and there's a different attitude towards cars in Portugal. They're not seen with the same cachet as they are in the UK, are they? People buy a car, and if it's good, they're damned if they're going to sell it. So they'll just run them. And I think that's actually a greener way of thinking than buying an electric car. If you can have a car that'll last you 30 years, why bother changing it? If it's still serving you well. And
that's what I do.
It's still the same in France. Sorry, I beg your pardon, Paul.
No, go on.
It's the same in France. People with flashy new cars are considered to be bourgeois.
Is that right? Not the case in Portugal at all, is it? That no, I think having a new car is quite the status symbol. I think in Portugal, in certain parts of society. But however, I'm with the end you described. If it ain't, even if it is broke, keep driving it and just hold it together with gaffer tape and cable ties and things like that, and just see how much we can get out of this beauty. In my old Skoda truck, powered by petrol for the time being. That's a cool comment, though. I think a lot of us have seen the cars of our youth over here in Portugal. Moaz, I feel your pain. I can no longer even consider US Republicans a legitimate political party. Oh, okay. We go in there, and not really a fan, says Ubi, of most Democrats either. Well, I was going to ask you about that, since they were accomplices in all King Jeffrey Bush era war crimes, but they're not pure evil. Okay, maybe we'll draw the line there for the time being. When it comes to idiots and pure evil, there are loads of charges in Portugal, and they are great. Our friends came from London and had no problems at all. In fact, they were probably just miserable. What? Because they came from London. Looking at the reminder. Oh, they were just miserable. Looking at the reminder of what misery gas stations are. He's pushing back. Gouvier has a miniature car museum on my bucket list today. Seems mostly like matchboxes, but what's not to love? Is that the museum that has one of Salazar's cars in it? I wonder. And we have some pictures in, everybody, of car rallies, which I think you'll like, Doug, around the country. Alvazra has an amazing motorcycle museum. Watch out for that, folks. And cool, thanks. I'll have to get to that this trip or next. Yeah, Alvazra is a lovely town to visit, and check out Garvo while you're there. Dougie, I think you want to add something there.
I was just saying, there's a motor museum in central Portugal as well. I can't remember the name of the place, but it's they've got a car festival there every year, and it's based around. Is it Caramulo? Caramulo.
That's it.
Yes,
yes, absolutely. That's the one. Right. I think maybe has the Salazar limousine in it. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, Caramulo. It's they've got the festas of motor festas there each year. And it's a big event, and it's not just classic cars. They've got awesome, supercars and powerful cars there as well. So lots to see, and a marvelous place to see it. Love it over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the south as well. Look, American. Thank you, Victoria, for these American car show. Look at that. That's a beauty. That's going to go
Mustang, isn't it?
Isn't it? It sounds so good and smells so bad. Well, some people do like the smell. And I don't know what that is, but that's also from the American car exhibition rally down there in the south. Thank you so much for those, Victoria. A little bit of a warning coming in. If you are, and we're approaching 10 o'clock now, we'll say goodbye to Doug and wish you all a great day. But before we do, news coming in of 2 individuals that should be avoided at Orient bus station, who are hanging around bothering people at Orient bus station. That's James and Hank there, asking people for change so they can buy another Imperial at the bus station, or enough money to get home on the
One
go.
of them has got a nice Canica there, and the other one has got a sensible Imperial. That's
Yes, it keeps cool, doesn't it? Unless you're a fast drinker, stay off the Canecas because they warm up. And without air conditioning, that's going to be a problem. Riots of Gumpers. Thank you, James. Says, look, Nuno's there, meeting with Hank and Connie. And James in the picture there. Fantastic.
Oh, well, I think I've met one of these guys. The guys in the dark blue T-shirt when I came over to your part of the world.
Yep, indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
And look, here they are again. Isn't that wonderful? And Tony Goldilocks is there as well. Isn't that wonderful? Superb. And that is Antonio F. In case you've ever wondered, Antonio F. is in the picture as well there. Hank, Connie, Antonio, Slug, Nuno, Joao, and Tony in that picture. Look at those lovely big smiles. Those are natural, coming from the heart, I tell.
think I've been challenged once or twice by Antonio F. to debate Brexit with him, which is something I haven't taken up as yet.
I will host that gladly. Not here in the morning, but I would host that gladly. Yes, we'll need a few podcast episodes to cover that, I think. And it's ongoing, isn't it? Let's face it. Last few comments and a final picture then to show Wales in a beautiful light, literally. Fossil fuel and emissions is a reason, old or new, but new has generally improved. I'm still not sure electric is the answer, says James there. Our batteries have a 50-year lifespan. Old spark plug is still at it there, making the case for electric. Thanks, Pete, for flying the flag there. Carl, you're mixing up people and picks. Sorry about that. Forgive me there. Those were just in. Juggling those behind the scenes, and thank you, James, for those. Poppycock cars are always a fashion accessory. Oh, he's giving me a poppycock there, albeit to varying degrees. In the words of the great Neil Peart, the car is a metaphor for freedom and sexuality. As a car lover, would you agree with that, Doug, as a final input?
I can only quote Sir Henry Royce when he said, a Rolls Royce is the ultimate fashion accessory, if you want. Fashion accessory is,
yes.
This chap says. And he said, what he said was, the quality remains long after the price is forgotten.
Yes, indeed. That's a sign of a good vehicle, isn't it? Or any experience in life, when you can still taste quality long after any sense of expenditure has been felt, or any pain to do with that. Yes, we could go on talking about the sexual metaphor that the car is, of course, those big red pulsing vehicles. And so suddenly we have loads of comments coming in as well. Ubi, the final one from you then. The industry has known that since forever it's part of the planned obsolescence, like fashion cycles. It's a huge segment of the market and wants something new, different, and fresh as often as possible. It's a good comment.
This is true. I mean, the mainstream car producers, not so much the likes of Rolls-Royce, they tend to have a thing, and then 30 years later it hasn't changed greatly. But if you have a Ford Fiesta, they'll do something somewhere along the line to make the next generation, the 2024 model, just that little bit different from the 23 model, so you'll want one.
Yes, indeed.
We're
to blame for falling for it, aren't we, as well? If you
can afford to, yes. But people who are of more modest means will try and keep the old one running, won't they? I mean, it all depends.
Yep. Okay, let's put this straight once and for all then. I did get the names wrong. That's Joao, not Antonio at the airport, and Antonio in the picture with Nuno. So so you know what's going on here. So which one is this? Okay, that's Antonio there. And that's Joao there. I think I've got that right now. I'm so sorry. We've never met in real life, so forgive me for that error. And yes, Moaz, Tony is in the country. There he is, right in the middle. Tony Goldilocks, welcome to you. Yes, in the country. Fantastic. Fantastic, Doug, as well, to have you here this morning. Thank you so much for having a leisurely chat and look through the news and to talk about Portuguese culture and even a German V8 hotel this morning. Great to chat with you. And yeah, and very finally, that's an unnecessary turn of phrase, but finally on the show, here we go. Welsh Wales in all its glory.
Goodness gracious me, and there's a UFO.
And a UFO, a rare sight. Or is it a sheep? No, I shouldn't have said that.
No, he could have floated off. You never know.
Okay. All right, Dougie, thank you so much. Have a great day, my friend. And that goes for all of you. Bon dia. Have a great day. And we'll see you in the morning for Move to Portugal Thursday. Dougie, let's whistle together, shall we? Let's dance and whistle our way into another great day here in Portugal and for you in Wales over there. All the best to you, my friend. Ciao, ciao. And
ciao for now.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.